Farmers are ditching their brand new $80,000 planters and pulling 50-year-old machines out of hedgerows, and their yields are going up. That sounds crazy until you realize modern planters are loaded with sensors, screens, and software that fail at the worst possible time. Meanwhile, these old iron workhorses were built with one job in mind: drop a seed, cover it perfectly, every single time. No Bluetooth required, no dealer visit to unlock a setting, just precision engineering that has outlasted the companies that tried to replace it. Here are 10 old seed drills and planters that still outperform the new ones. Number 1. John Deere Model 7000 Corn Planter. Let's start with arguably the most beloved planter in American agriculture, the John Deere 7000. Introduced in 1973, the 7000 was a game-changer. It was John Deere's first planter to feature a true vacuum-free finger pickup metering system. Each row unit used positive mechanical finger pickups to singulate seeds one at a time from the seed disc, placing them into the furrow with remarkable consistency. What makes the 7000 special is its simplicity and mechanical precision. The finger pickup mechanism is almost impossible to fool. Whether you're planting corn, soybeans, or sunflowers, it meters seed with a uniformity that many modern air delivery systems struggle to match in real-world field conditions. Modern planters use a central air system to blow seed down tubes to each row, and every bend, every distance, every worn tube fitting introduces variability. The 7000 doesn't have that problem. Each row unit is its own self-contained planting system. Parts are still widely available, often for a fraction of the cost of modern equivalents. A used John Deere 7000 in good condition can be purchased for anywhere between $3,000 and $12,000 depending on the number of rows and condition, while achieving plant spacing uniformity that rivals units costing 10 times as much. Independent row unit studies conducted by universities in the Midwest have consistently shown that well-maintained 7000 series planters achieve singulation rates above 97%, which is competitive with units that cost $1,500 per row new. The 7000 also introduced the semi-integral planter frame that allowed farmers to fold rows for transport, a design so successful that it remained largely unchanged through the 7100 and into later generations. Farmers who understand this machine and keep the finger pickup assemblies clean and adjusted can plant into conditions that confuse modern electronic meters. Number 2. International Harvester 800 Series Cyclo Planter. Before John Deere had the finger pickup, International Harvester had the Cyclo. Introduced in the early 1960s, the IH800 Cyclo planter used a pneumatic metering system decades before it became mainstream. A small fan mounted on the planter created a vacuum that held individual seeds against holes in a rotating seed disc. As the disc turned, each seed was carried to a release point and dropped into the seed tube. This was revolutionary engineering for its time. And here's the thing, it still works beautifully today. The Cyclo system's ability to handle a wide variety of seed sizes and shapes without changing seed plates is something modern farmers still appreciate. Want to plant corn one season and then switch to soybeans the next? The Cyclo adjusts. Modern air planters are also flexible, but the Cyclo does it with simpler mechanics and fewer points of failure. The IH800 planters were built to handle tough Midwest conditions, and they were overbuilt by modern standards. The cast iron and heavy-gauge steel components don't flex or fatigue the way lighter modern materials do. This rigidity actually matters at the row unit level. A firmer, more consistent contact with the soil means more uniform seed placement depth. Collectors and working farmers alike seek out the 800 Cyclo because its metering performance on corn is still excellent. When properly maintained, these planters achieve excellent spacing uniformity, and because the vacuum fan is belt-driven directly from the PTO, there are no electrical failures to worry about during planting season. Number 3. John Deere Van Brunt Grain Drill. Switch gears to small grains and cover crops, and one name keeps coming up in old-timer conversations: the John Deere Van Brunt Grain Drill. John Deere acquired the Van Brunt Manufacturing Company in 1911, and the grain drills produced under that lineage became some of the most durable and reliable small grain seeding tools ever made. Van Brunt drills used a simple fluted force feed metering system, a rotating ribbed roller inside a seed cup that would meter grain out at a consistent rate based on roller speed and flute exposure. These mechanisms are nearly indestructible. They have no electronics, no sensors, and no moving parts that require dealer programming to replace. A skilled farmer with a wrench and a parts manual can rebuild one in an afternoon. What makes these drills relevant today is their row spacing and soil engagement. The double-disc furrow openers on Van Brunt drills cut a clean, consistent furrow in a wide range of soil types. Modern no-till drills have largely moved to larger, heavier coulter systems, which work well in heavy residue but can sometimes over-disturb the soil surface. For light to medium residue situations, the Van Brunt's paired disc setup creates a narrow, precise slot that allows excellent seed-to-soil contact. Many small, diversified farmers and homesteaders have rediscovered Van Brunt drills precisely because they work well with low-horsepower tractors, are easy to maintain, and cost almost nothing compared to a new drill. A functional Van Brunt can be found at farm auctions for a few hundred to a few $1,000s, and when properly calibrated, it seeds wheat, oats, rye, and cover crop mixes with impressive uniformity. Number 4. Allis-Chalmers 200 Series Planter. Allis-Chalmers doesn't get enough credit in the planter world. The AC 200 series planters were produced during the era when Allis-Chalmers was competing hard against both John Deere and IH for the row crop planting market, and they built these units to last. The 200 series used a plate-type metering system with interchangeable seed plates, which was the dominant technology of the era. What set the Allis-Chalmers units apart was the attention paid to the furrow opener and closing wheel system. The cast-iron double-disc openers were slightly larger in diameter than competitors' versions, which gave them better penetration in hard soils and more consistent depth control on uneven ground. The closing wheels on the 200 series were also notable. They used a spiked rubber closing wheel design that firmed the soil around the seed without smearing or compacting the furrow sidewall. Compacted furrow sidewalls restrict root emergence and are a hidden yield robber in many fields. The AC approach to this problem was elegant and mechanically simple. For farmers planting soybeans and smaller seeds in particular, the 200 series plates and metering cups are forgiving and consistent. Replacement seed plates are still manufactured by aftermarket companies, and the cast-iron components of these planters rarely need replacement, just cleaning and occasional lubrication. Number 5. White 5100 series. White Farm Equipment, which absorbed Oliver and Minneapolis Moline, produced the 5100 series planter in the 1970s, and it became known for one thing, above all else: exceptional depth control. The 5100 used a unique parallelogram row unit design with a robust gauge wheel system that tracked soil surface changes extremely well. Planting depth uniformity is arguably the single most important variable in achieving even emergence, and the White 5100's row unit geometry was specifically engineered to minimize depth variation across row units and across varying soil conditions. Field tests conducted at agricultural universities in the late 1970s and early 1980s showed the 5100 performing at or near the top of its class for depth consistency, a result that holds up even by today's standards. The 5100 also featured a simple but effective seed firmers, small plastic or rubber fingers that dragged behind the seed disc and pressed each seed individually into the furrow bottom. This seed-to-furrow contact is critical for moisture uptake and germination, and it's something many mid-range modern planters skip entirely. These planters are rare enough that finding one takes effort, but farmers who have them guard them carefully. The mechanical engineering of the 5100 row unit is a masterclass in doing more with less. Number 6. Great Plains Solid Stand Drill. Great Plains Manufacturing out of Salina, Kansas, started building grain drills in the 1970s and rapidly developed a reputation for building equipment that worked in tough Great Plains conditions, highly variable soils, significant residue from wheat stubble, and unpredictable moisture situations. The early Great Plains solid stand drills from the 1980s featured a heavy-duty single-disc furrow opener with a press wheel directly behind each opener. This combination was specifically designed for Great Plains wheat and sorghum planting, where consistent seed depth in dry soils is critical. The single-disc opener slices through soil and light residue cleanly, and the press wheel that follows firms the soil and closes the furrow simultaneously. What made these drills special was the quality of the steel used in the openers and frame. Great Plains used high-carbon steel in the single-disc blades, which resisted wear far better than the softer steel used in some competing drills. It was common for a Great Plains drill to go 10,000 to 15,000 acres before needing new opener discs, a durability standard that some modern drills don't match. The metering system on early Great Plains drills was a simple but accurate fluted feed design, similar to Van Brunt, that handled a wide range of seed sizes. Farmers who plant wheat, milo, rye, and cover crops with these machines report excellent stands year after year, and parts availability remains good because Great Plains is still in business and maintains backward compatibility with many of their older models. Number 7. Ford New Holland 750 Grain Drill. Ford's agricultural equipment division produced a line of grain drills under the New Holland brand in the 1970s and 1980s that developed a quiet but solid reputation among small grain farmers in the eastern United States and Canada. The 750 series drill was particularly respected for its ability to handle heavy, wet soils that would clog or plug competing drills. The 750 used a double-disc opener design with a rubber seed tube boot that directed seed precisely to the bottom of the furrow. The rubber boot reduced seed bounce, a subtle but important factor in achieving consistent seed-to-soil contact in furrows cut in damp or sticky soil. When seeds bounce and scatter within the furrow before the soil closes, you get irregular spacing and depth variation. The 750's boot design minimized this problem. The 750 also featured a rear packer wheel that could be adjusted for different soil conditions, allowing farmers to dial in the amount of soil firming without over-compacting wet soils. This adjustability was ahead of its time and remains practical today. For farmers in the Corn Belt and Upper Midwest who deal with heavy clay soils and spring planting pressure, the Ford New Holland 750 remains a reliable and effective tool that costs far less to buy and maintain than comparable modern drills. Number 8. Oliver 542 Grain Drill. Oliver Corporation, one of the great names in American agricultural history, produced the 542 grain drill during the post-war era of agricultural expansion. These drills were built with a level of material quality that reflected an era when American manufacturing prioritized longevity over disposability. The Oliver 542 featured heavy cast iron seed boxes, all steel frame construction, and a force-feed metering system that was calibrated with remarkable precision from the factory. Oliver paid attention to the details of seed-to-soil contact in ways that many manufacturers of the era did not. The furrow openers were designed to create a slightly wider furrow at the seed placement zone and then close it firmly, trapping moisture around the seed. What makes the 542 relevant today is its proven ability to establish small grains in a variety of challenging conditions. Farmers who have restored and returned these drills to service report consistent, even stands that hold their own against modern drills. The mechanical simplicity means there is nothing to fail electronically, and the cast iron components are virtually indestructible if kept clean and lubricated. The 542 is increasingly rare, but still appears at farm auctions and estate sales, often in restorable condition. For small, diversified farms, homesteads, and organic operations that don't rely on electronic precision agriculture, a well-maintained Oliver 542 is a highly capable seeding tool. Number 9. Massey Ferguson 30 Series Planter. Massey Ferguson's row crop planters from the 1960s and 1970s represented a thoughtful evolution of planting technology, and the 30 series remains one of the best examples of mid-century planter engineering. Massey Ferguson approached planter design with a focus on adaptability. These planters were designed to work across a wide range of crops from corn and soybeans to cotton and sorghum without requiring major reconfiguration. The 30 series used a plate-type metering system with high-quality seed plates that were manufactured to tight tolerances. The seed plates for different crops were interchangeable across the system, and Massey Ferguson's cell sizes and shapes were well matched to the seed varieties of the era, which importantly aren't dramatically different from the seed sizes of today in most cases. The row units featured a heavy-duty double-disc opener with a shoe-type seed tube that minimized the distance between the opening disc and the seed delivery point. Shorter seed-to-furrow bottom distance means less variation in where each seed lands. which translates directly to more uniform spacing. This is a detail that modern high-speed planters have relearned and now advertise as a selling point, but the Massey Ferguson 30 series had it figured out 60 years ago. Massey Ferguson also paid careful attention to the gauge wheel and depth control system. The gauge wheels on the 30 series contacted the soil on both sides of the furrow opener, providing a stable 2-point reference for consistent depth that was less susceptible to soil variability than single-point systems. Number 10. Kinze 2000 series planter. Kinze Manufacturing out of Williamsburg, Iowa, disrupted the planting equipment market when they introduced their planter line in the 1980s with a focus on quality mechanical components and farmer-serviceable design. The 2000 series, produced from the late 1980s through the 1990s, became a benchmark for row unit quality and planting performance. What set the Kinze 2000 series apart was its focus on mechanical singulation quality. The Kinze row unit used a brush system to remove doubles from the seed disc, ensuring that exactly one seed dropped from each cell. The seed disc material and cell geometry were also engineered with more precision than most competitors, resulting in singulation accuracy that consistently tested above 98%, exceptional performance for a mechanical finger pickup system. The Kinze 2000 also introduced a heavy-duty parallel linkage system that gave each row unit tremendous flotation over uneven terrain while maintaining consistent downforce. The quality of the cast and machined components in the 2000 series was high enough that these planters, properly maintained, can still operate at 95% of their original performance decades later. Many farmers who have access to both the Kinze 2000 series and modern entry-level planters find that the Kinze performs just as well or better in real field conditions, particularly at ground speeds under 5.5 miles per hour. The Kinze 2000 is also fully compatible with modern precision agriculture add-ons, electric drive kits, seed monitors, and closing wheel upgrades, making it a capable platform for farmers who want old iron reliability with modern data collection. So that's it for today. If you like this video, then please hit the like and subscribe button for more videos. Thanks for watching.